Hello everyone, I'm Forrest McFreelava, and this is Speedplay Papal, Italy number 6. We left off still in the midst of our war against the French. Our armies are spreading out across the French countryside as we speak. Right now, we are at peace with the Austrians. We do have a casus belli to take one of their states from them. However, that will expire in 2 months. On June 19th, we will no longer have that casus belli. It will no longer be valid, which means we're going to have to clean up this whole French theater as quickly as possible and start shipping troops back over to the east so we don't waste this opportunity. We are already quite... Okay, let's see, what was that? Apparently, Austria is now at peace. So that's not great. At any rate, we will hopefully get our forces over to them in the near future. We'll go ahead and look and see if they were mobilized. They are mobilized, so they'll hopefully demobilize and have less brigades. Also, apparently our economy just took a major crash. Never mind, it's back up to normal. How nice. The French are attacking us. We'll just go ahead and send some reinforcements over. And hopefully not forget to send forces over and actually declare war against the Austrians. We'll actually start shipping these 2 regiments over, or these 2 armies over. Apparently the United Kingdom just declared war. I'm not sure if they will call their Austrian allies in, so we may as well go to war. We'll try to take Croatia and also Slovenia in this war. From there, maybe we'll free Hungary or something. I'm not entirely certain what we should get from the Austrians. Mainly, though, if we take Slovenia and Croatia, we'll then deal with the Ottoman Empire, and that will give us, hopefully, at least somewhat nice borders in the long run. So we'll go ahead, aim for Croatia. That's 53 war score. That's reasonable. And we'll just send these 3 armies out. Actually, you know what? No. That's a terrible idea. We will stay and defend ourselves for now. We'll deal with this French army attacking Dalmatia and go crush their navy. We are at war with the UK, which means our holdings in Africa are under severe risk of being occupied. That will probably just happen. There isn't very much we can do about it. We will send these 2 armies down, not quite to the border, but hopefully somewhat close. The British have quite large armies, and that will be a bit of a problem for us to deal with. So let's go ahead and just draw up a bit of a war plan. We will hold this general area. Let's change the color. We'll hold that general area as well as this general area. We can kind of expect enemy armies to rove through. We'll change the color to red to indicate hostile. So we can expect enemy armies to rove through in this general direction, as well as, more likely than not, from their north. That will hopefully be the only areas we have to defend. We'll try to make a strong point there and later push out if we're able to. So that will be a bit of a long-term plan. Will be to strike out from our holdings in Africa. We will also attempt to hold this line in Italy for the moment. And let's take a look. We will also press north from here, hopefully joining our force in Dalmatia with our forces here and press into the Austrian capital. Now, just how realistic that is remains to be seen, and we've nearly occupied most of the French countryside, so we'll just try to defend this region until we're able to circle back and bring reinforcements over and around. We will make this blue to indicate that it is going to happen a little bit later. At any rate, that is the plan. We'll see if it actually holds up to reality at all. Let's begin and move forward. So we're only at war with 3 states at the moment. Okay, all of a sudden all of their allies were called in, and we're at war with basically everything. Now, let's be honest, we knew this was coming. We'll send these forces down against the Ottomans, already shifting away from our plan. That's really to be expected in a situation of just total war. I won't bother to update the plan for this new reality just yet. We did beat this French army, that's great news. I believe it's the only French army still in the field against us, at least at the moment. These forces will hopefully be able to take up their defensive positions rather quickly. We got there before the French did, so that is fantastic. They get all the penalties for attacking. We've beaten the Austrian navy of a single ship. And hopefully we'll be able to take over Ottoman North Africa in this war, but we really do need to get jingoism increasing events, which will hopefully happen rather quickly as we are in an election. Now we are just doing election spam in order to get as many as possible, to get all the jingoism events we hopefully can get. We'll see if that actually pans out for us in the long run. We are successfully destroying this French army, although we are taking roughly equivalent casualties to them. Ideally, we wouldn't be doing that, however, at sometimes you have to take a bit more casualties than is quite hoped for. The British are definitely advancing out of their African holdings and into our areas. This is really to be expected, and we're definitely going to lose a lot of terrain in Africa. But we're trading... what's the phrase? We're trading land for time at the moment. Ooh, that's not great. As we're pulling our forces out of France, it looks as though the North Germans are rolling in and attacking our positions. We'll start getting all the forces that we can over. We did beat that French army. We'll keep the army together. One of the groups is rather low health at the moment, having taken severe casualties. However, if we leave it behind, it might be attacked by a large enemy army. Now, it might be best to just pull this army over to reinforce. However, I want to finish the occupation. So there we go. We'll go ahead and move. The French are willing to offer us our demands. However, at this point, it's probably going to be for the best that we just stay in the war against the French so that we have freedom of movement through their country. It looks like they're giving the North Germans military access. And let's see, we'll keep this army back, and hopefully as occupations finish, we'll be able to encircle this large German army. I don't know if they have military access through Switzerland, though. We'll go ahead and not really bother this free trade protectionism debate and just ship more armies over. Ideally, I really do want to get a jingoism event. That's all we need to get out of war with the French. That's all we need to add for more, really everything. We just need more jingoism. We can do so much if we just get that. It looks as though this French army is going to be just completely destroyed, and there it goes. It was completely destroyed. We'll move this army through hostile territory and then behind the lines. And we'll also reinforce that army, which is currently not doing the greatest. Alright, let's see. 157,000 Germans, that is quite a few. We will go ahead and send these forces to just complete the encirclement, at least partially. These groups will go fill out the back. Once our occupation of Paris is complete, we'll hopefully be able to just completely surround them, sans Switzerland, who will not give us military access. We could try to justify war against them, and in fact we will. If we're able to go to war against the Swiss, we'll be able to surround them, hopefully. The North Germans are fighting us again. I wish we could see if they were giving military access to the North Germans, but unfortunately we won't be able to see that. So it's rather up in the air if we do have an encirclement or not. We did win that battle at the cost of quite a few lives of our soldiers. It's a bit unfortunate, however, it's good that we did win. That does leave a gap through Treviso. We could just leave a low health army there, however I feel like that would be a bit risky. And we've nearly sieged out French North Africa, so that's nice. They definitely do just want out of the war at this point. Unfortunately, we can't really give them that. We're also going to have to pull from our encirclement of these German armies to reinforce part of our forces, which are just not doing very well at all. Ultimately, though, it looks as though we do have enough troops. This area in Africa may be threatened, potentially rather severely threatened. We'll see how that plays out. We'll also pull back and reinforce our armies. We do have better defense, so that's great. We'll go ahead and get deep defense systems and just keep completing our army techs. This is the last army tech that we need to be fully modern and current. Alright, an idea, one that we're probably going to take up, is we will retreat these partial stacks and bring in these full stacks to just fully get this battle line up to just the most health it can have. We are still completing occupation, so we'll be able to keep wheeling around and getting more forces. Let's not get any beer halls. And we could attack this small German army, however, it probably wouldn't help us all that much to do so. We'll also pull these very low health armies around and put a fully healed and ready army at the front. We can also begin moving these forces north to just prevent being encircled or losing our flank. We are also at war with the Portuguese, apparently, so we may be able to get some concessions out of them. We did win that battle. We'll wheel around and deal with this one Austrian army and move these forces up to the front line to prevent anything like that happening again. Alright. So overall, pretty good progress. We'll go ahead and just keep smashing these enemy armies. We have completely stack wiped a German corps. We'll move this force around and to the back. And I really do hope they don't have access through Switzerland. Whether they do or not really does remain to be seen, though, and we won't know unless they retreat into it. That's really the risk, is if they do have military access through Switzerland, then we risk having them just retreat to an area we can't get them or affect them at all, which would be kind of problematic. We've managed to fully secure our border with Austria, which is very nice. They are attacking us, which is really to be expected. We'll go ahead and move our people onto boats and then around. In fact, we'll just bring the boats to them as a way of not being forced to bring low health regiments into the combat and still being able to reinforce the front line adequately. I was right, they do have an army in South Africa. It looks like we're going to be pushed out of there pretty quickly and decisively. We'll bring this army down and hopefully make progress over towards British North Africa, or I guess British Sub-Saharan Africa. And it looks as though they did not have military access through Switzerland. That is great news. We'll go ahead and bring our lowest health armies back and attempt to just heal them up a bit. All of these forces will fall back and just start regenerating as best as they are able, or reinforcing, I guess I should say. Now the French are at minus 100% war score, so we will be able to get everything we have the jingoism to ask for. And we don't have the jingoism nearly at all. So that's a bit of a bummer. Hopefully we'll get jingoism in the next, well, I guess in the next election cycle, or hopefully in this one. I'm really not sure. It's just something to shoot for in a general sense. We might even be able to peace out with the Germans in the near future, which would be ideal. I'm not entirely sure how realistic it is hoping for that. We should also probably bring some forces back in order that we may deal with the German army occupying our countryside. We do have a large amount of armies basically healing up. We'll just bring them over and around. I imagine we won't have to worry about being attacked for about a month or two, which should be enough to get them to at least decently combat-ready positions. And really, it's going to be a lot of jumping from front to front. as we deal with all of these potential hotspots. Also just circle this army around. And there we go. We're trying to just avoid attrition and also get everything settled more or less. The Austrian front is doing quite well. All of these forces are in a pretty good spot. We'll go ahead and support moralism just because. We're really getting our people very concerned about issues that I don't care about, but I guess that's part of election cycles. Meanwhile, the defense is holding up quite well. We might actually be able to just break the Austrian army against ourselves, which is an odd way of going about things, but one that I'm quite okay with. Maybe we can beat them. Not quite. Maybe this army would be able to. No. Oh well, we'll try our luck. It appears that that was a terrible mistake. In fact, we're not even going to reinforce that battle. It is just a disaster. We lost so many men so quickly. So it seems as though the winning bet is to be defensive on the Austrian frontier. The German army is roving closer to our forces, although not yet enough to be that much of an issue. We'll go ahead and reinforce this army against the British, just with everything we've got. This army might just cease to exist depending on how this battle goes. We still have 5 days before we can reinforce, so they are probably all going to die. That's really terrible and sad. I wish I didn't do that. Yeah, we were stack wiped. That is a full army group just completely lost. Well, you can't win them all. Luckily, we're doing no worse than the Austrians are doing basically everywhere. So that's nice. We're going to have to cut off that small portion of the defense, and we may have to fully abandon Dalmatia. We'll bring this navy over to control the sea. Africa still not doing very well. We did win this battle handedly. And we'll just reinforce this army. We'll bring another group up. And we managed to fully stack wipe that British group, which is great news. We will continue forward with our advance in this one limited theater. Ottoman North Africa continuing to be destroyed. And we will hope very hard for jingoism. The one thing that can save us now. All these additional forces really have no reason to be waiting next to this small German army, so we'll pull them back and send them up north to deal with the Austrians. Additional German forces are showing up, which is kind of to be expected. Unfortunately, our isolated army is being attacked. We aren't losing very much in comparison to the Austrians, so that's very good news. We really do need jingoism, though. I'm really just harping on jingoism. But it's true. It's really the biggest limiting factor we have right now, is we just cannot demand anything in these wars. Which is just a terrible bummer, because we need to demand things to end the wars. So we're really just stuck in this awful little cyclical thing, where we're at war because we can't make peace, but we're never going to be able to make peace. So we just sort of end up in permanent war. It's not ideal, but it's just the way it's just what we have to deal with. We still haven't even mobilized though, so this is more or less just, what's the word for it? I guess it's very philosophical right now. It's not a real world issue at this point. We're going to attempt to attack this German army of 26,000 men with 60-ish thousand men, probably more closer to 50,000. We'll see how we fare. We're actually doing very well. That's great news. British still rolling up. Front line holding mediocre. Holding out in a mediocre manner. We'll pull back these very low health regiments. And we'll send this force up and this force over. We may have to start pulling forces from North Africa, as that theater isn't really important compared to Europe. And I can't really justify having so many forces there when we have so few actually defending our countryside. So I mentioned in the last episode not being quite sure if we would pull forces from Europe to Africa or from Africa to Europe. It seems we're going with the obvious answer of pulling African forces into the European theater. We'll also roll this army around and just try to block off direct German access to their countryside, so even if they do retreat, they'll retreat to somewhere we're able to deal with them. We'll also park this army and hopefully they will still attack it, which will give us a nice defensive advantage. Meanwhile, we're going to pull this force to defend our small army over here. We ended the election without a jingoism event. Let's go ahead and get some more elections going. It looks as though the majority of the Austrian army is attacking us right there. We did defeat these Germans. They are trying to go to Chaumont, so we'll go ahead and wheel around. German pan-nationalists are rising up, and we're getting the better end of this battle, which is very nice. We do have an unjustifiably large army in France at the moment, although if we are able to just siege them out, it will really help the war effort in a larger sense. However, there are just so many enemy armies roving around our countryside, and that major battle off the coast of Italy is a tremendous concern. So it looks as though we may actually have to wheel around and pull these armies out of North Africa to the actual European theater. These armies we will have continue to just move forward, seeing as they are too far away to realistically bring back. We did win a major engagement against the Austrians, that's great news. We'll bring one army out to the sea. Now that cancels the occupation progress, so we'll just bring this army back and try to get it home. How realistic that is remains to be seen. We'll actually attack this 9 stack and hopefully get out through there. Alright. The Austrians are really bringing everything they've got to this engagement. If we can encircle them, we'll basically win that war. Whether or not that's realistic remains to be seen. We'll go ahead and occupy those areas of France and bring this army down and around. We might be over-enforcing our armies here. However, I'd rather over-support it than under-support it, just considering the size of that engagement. Also, this army is completely isolated. And unfortunately, we were attacked. That is terrible news. Hopefully this army will deal with the enemies and be able to wheel back around in the near future. Ottoman North Africa is going to have to be left alone. We'll bring this army up and over, and we're just going to reinforce Dalmatia. It looks as though this British army is going to attempt to attack our force. Luckily, we have men nearby to reinforce it. Alright, that's all good news, more or less. We won that battle. We can go ahead and reinforce our poor army there. They have suffered quite a few casualties. These armies will just bring into the battle. We'll pull back the most devastated of our forces and just reinforce with what we can. In fact, we'll wait a few days for our armies that aren't nearly full health, just so the month will take over and they'll reinforce. The British have attacked. We'll bring this army up, and that will hopefully be sufficient. And in fact, since we just finished that occupation, we'll bring the rest up with them. Alright, it looks as though we did manage to win that battle. The army is in rather poor shape, but it is still alive. With the month ticked over, we can go ahead and bring these armies up. They are more or less fully healed. Probably less than more. And with that done, I feel confident going around to encircle the enemy. There are now British forces in northern France, so it's probably good that we kept as many forces as we did in the area. They will be there on the 9th. We'll probably wait a day, just tick over and move north. We did manage to win this battle, which is very nice. Props to that 9 stack, which managed to hold off the enemy as long as it did. We will pull this army from Dalmatia. Oh, let's bring this army back instead. Alright, we will get these 30,000 men out, bring them over there, pull this 3,000 man army back to our country. The war is going poorly for us in Africa, although it is absorbing a large amount of enemy troops. Alright, so the obvious way that we could deal with Africa, and probably the way that I should have treated Africa from the start, is we won't actually take the enemy presence out of Africa. The larger of a presence our enemies have in Africa, the better, as Europe is really worth far more province to province than Africa is, and the greater hostile investment in Africa, the better it is for us, as it basically wins us the war in Europe while they get distracted fighting a war that doesn't really matter. We've also fully worked out a encirclement on this massive, basically the entire Austrian army. This will be our... What was that battle in the Franco-Prussian War where the entire French army was destroyed, or encircled and then forced to surrender? Getting rid of the entire empire, really. It captured Napoleon III. I really wish I knew the name of that. In fact, I might just look it up and take a moment. Although I did close my browser. Well, I'll try to look it up for the speed play version. Sorry for all of you watching this. It was a really major battle. I think it happened near, like, Strasbourg. I don't actually know, but it was a pretty significant thing. The British are sending forces en masse into northern France, which is rather sad. We still haven't gotten any jingoism events. I'll try to stop harping on that, although it is the most important thing in the world right now. We can get more pro-military. I don't really want our people to be pro-military. I want them to be jingoists. We'll pull this force back. Oh yeah, we do need to take over this one province with the enemy 10 stack on it in order to fully work out our encirclement. Alright, we can keep moving forward and just siege out the French even more. Verdun has fallen without fight. Take that, World War I. And we'll just bring these forces up. So we've nearly sieged out the French. The British are being a bit of a problem. It looks as though they're coming to reinforce the Austrians or to break our encirclement. I'm not sure if that's actually what they're doing or if it's just a weird coincidence. Our armies in North Africa are still making progress, although it's rather pointless progress on a theater that I mentioned doesn't really matter. But it's still nice to have the upper hand in it, even if it is pointless. The rest of Africa still falling. We are getting updates every time a siege ends negatively. It may be getting a bit redundant and perhaps more than a little annoying. All these very low health regiments will start pulling from the battle, as is tradition. And move these armies down. Alright, so realistically, overall, great strategic position. The British armies just roving past that entire theater is a terrible concern, but not one that we really need to worry ourselves about at the moment. We stack wiped another Austrian army. Take that, Austria. That's what you get for stack wiping one of our armies while defending yourselves, technically. We should really be timing this better so that we pull our armies back near the end of the month so that we don't have to have them out of combat as long, as they always do reinforce at the end of the month anyway. That is something to consider moving forward. Now, I would be pulling back these forces, or I would be sending the more fully healed forces into the combat. However, with these British armies roving about, I don't really feel confident doing so. I'm not entirely sure what their war aim is. It looks as though they're sending a large amount of forces to our capital, so they may want to take that to get war score. Whether or not that is exactly the case remains to be seen, although it does seem like a safe bet. as they didn't fight any of our armies in France or occupy any of our provinces closer to their armies. We will continue to pull forces. We've nearly finished the occupation of France. We'll hopefully be able to peace out with them in the near future, although that remains to be seen. We'll pull this army up to just fully retake our eastern border. Upper House has been rearranged, which just means it's January of the new year. Suez has fallen, Caen has fallen. And the Austrian army has really just been whittled away significantly. We will start pulling our healthier regiments down and over, hopefully to deal the death blow to these British forces just roving about our countryside. We'll pull this force back. I wonder if we can make peace with the German. No. Alright, that doesn't matter too much. We do kind of have this army trapped, or they have that army of ours trapped. We continue to press forward. So yeah, this army is more or less trapped. We can't really get back to our countryside in any meaningful way. We can just wheel around. Although they do block us in. We'll attack the 9 stack and hope for the best. Okay, they moved away. We'll just pull this army away. Alright, once we deal the death blow to this Austrian army, we'll be able to just explode outside of the frontier. And from there, it should be easy work. The British armies aren't really very well coordinated. We are losing our islands, which is a terrible bummer. Although as long as we're able to defend the mainland, I'm not too concerned. We'll bring this navy around. Where did our other navy end up? Well, I don't know. We'll just keep sending this force through Ottoman North Africa. Alright, that army is completely destroyed, causing a significant blow to the Austrian military. We can hopefully destroy this German stack, which is just wheeling around annoyingly. They did end up technically attacking us. That's good news for our force. We will defend the pass, and also just wheel this army around so they'll be forced deeper into our country, not further away. Alright. With this all done, it looks as though the British are landing their men, which is just so annoying. If they would only fight us on a conventional front. We should just start clearing the seas of their men. Where's our other navy? We need to find that. It is in Italy, in a rather obvious place. Alright, we do have some battleships and some other heavy ships. That should be enough to just clear at least the Mediterranean. We could just block off Gibraltar, and from there be in a much more defensible position. People want pacifism, the exact opposite of jingoism. Come on, people, let's not do this. Alright, let's clear these seas. We're going to wait until the month ticks over before we move our armies in Italy. And, alright, let's move this force back a bit, discouraging the enemy advance, and then we'll wheel around and move forward. They were defeated but not destroyed. We'll move our men further once again. And there we go. That will finish the occupation of France. I kind of want to keep a force just on the north coast to prevent any British forces from crossing over. This group I meant to send to Brescia, where the next battle will occur. And alright, overall, pretty solid. We'll move these forces down and just consider attacking the enemy army in Rome. Once we defeat the German army, we'll be able to pull down a significant number of reinforcements, and worst case, we'll just end some of our occupations prematurely. These forces are charging forward, great news. We really are going to lose all of these islands. It's a bummer, but it's not a disaster. The German army has been stack wiped. It appears as though there might be an engagement there. I really don't want to fight them in that instance. We'll pull these armies so it'll still make a full front, and if they attack us, then they attack us. We'll pull more forces down to reinforce, just in case this falls apart, although it doesn't look as though that's going to be the case. And we will pray to the gods of democracy that we get jingoism. Oops. We'll take the prestige options in any event we can get, just because prestige is nice. We've won that engagement against the enemy navies. Great news. And finished off these sieges. We'll just go ahead and rush the remaining enemy army. As soon as this army reinforces them, it will cancel the dig-in bonus their army still there gets. So that's nice. And we'll bring this force over near Gibraltar to just end any hope that the enemy has of reinforcing. This force will bring over to just complete our blockade of the French northern coast to prevent more English from crossing over. And we'll just leave those armies there for now. It may not be the best solution long term, but it should hold out for the near term. Now we may need the forces to go to additional fronts. That's a concern we'll just have to let happen. We will just leave that as a problem for now. Now this is a remarkably large amount of troops, 90,180. A solid 210,000 men doing nothing, which is a bit inexcusable considering how every other front is kind of in a state of total war. Oh well, it doesn't matter that much. We'll continue bringing our forces forward and actually advance the line. Dalmatia, we've more or less given up on. The German army has thankfully attacked. We can go ahead and counter it. Let's see our war plan and see how this is all fared. Well, that didn't pan out at all. The attack from Dalmatia. The French plan did sort of work out. We are holding a defensive line there and just kind of falling here. Africa kind of ended up working more or less. We'll go ahead and just delete this war plan and create a new one. Oops, alright. Delete, yes. Alright, so new war plan. Alright, the plan as it stands right now, we will keep sending these three armies more or less just around. That is their primary goal. Throughout this region, we will launch just a series of small offensives, slowly pressing out in a general press. These armies we will bring south and then wheel around to reinforce. We will keep a bit of a defensive line here, potentially pulling a few units around to destroy the German forces as they wheel through France. That is the current plan for our offensives. Defensively, we can probably expect a German thrust down and across. We'll make that red to indicate that. As long as we clear the seas out pretty well, we can hopefully defend ourselves without too much concern. We can generally just expect enemy armies to wheel throughout Africa in a general offensive. South Africa, we can kind of expect them to meander drunkenly around the area, not really making any progress or being that significant. And that's really the front. There's nowhere we're really holding other than the north, and realistically we could probably just pull back from that at some point, which is to be indicated by those two army lines moving away. I think this is ultimately a more or less realistic outlook. We're not even really going to bother defending the border between France and North Germany, as there's no one even there. They're just kind of pouring through. It's a rather porous defense right now. Immediately, it looks as though I was wrong. We'll probably end up bringing this 126,000 men up to fight the Germans, leaving this force more or less where it's at. If we could consolidate the defense a little bit, that would probably be a smart move. These three regiments are probably going to stay. These two are probably going to stay. We could probably move this one back to Bretagne or whatever it's called. Something French sounding. Alright, let's take a look. They're just pressing forward. We'll go ahead and get ourselves some associationism for the reinforcement bonus, as that is probably going to be important. This army we will send 2 groups forward. We'll keep 1 in reserve, sending it on a more circuitous route to avoid attrition. We'll bring these forces up to fight the British and Germans as they come wheeling through. And other than that, it looks as though there's a significant engagement here. Thankfully we have a reserve, which is a very nice change. It is so nice having reserve forces. We will pull back that army so that we don't have to defend Brittany entirely, bringing this group down and over into Italy to defend ourselves there. We did win this battle, and apparently I'm getting a phone call, which is terribly unprofessional. Let's run over. Oh, it's just spam. Alright, okay, I'm gonna blow my nose very quickly. Sorry for the noise. It's like day 4 of being sick. It's such an unpleasant thing. And, the worst thing is I'm one of those people who keep saying, like, oh, I got an amazing immune system. Few shots? Nah, who needs a flu shot? Who needs a flu shot? I've got a great immune system, and then I'm sick for a week. So, joke's on me, I guess. Few shot. Sometimes words are hard. Doesn't make any sense. Alright, unfortunately the Germans appear to have reinforced that British army, so we'll just bring all of our forces in to defend that. We now have 3 full armies completely ready to go. We'll bring them up north and just take them to whatever front needs them the most whenever they get to that staging ground. We've nearly destroyed, but not entirely, this German army. If they escape, they will be a problem. However, we can't follow them, so, well, they're just a problem. So, you're welcome, little German army. You get to escape, the few hundred of you that made it, at least. Alright, we can't really pull these forces forward without creating a gap in the line, and I really don't want to do that. I'd rather the enemy have to engage our armies when we have the defensive advantage. So we'll just keep these forces there. Now that we've gone over the infamy limit, it doesn't really matter if we get events that give us +1 infamy for expanding our influence in random countries. I was going to pull this line forward, deciding against that. Now that we're under attack, we'll just defend where we're at. Conservative and reactionary elements. Guess what, guys? New election. Good luck. Try to keep control of the government. We've won that battle. The enemy armies are going to Nice. We'll just meet them there. Innsbruck or something has managed to fall to us. Alright, that's just right there. We'll probably have to keep defending the border with Bavaria, as it does look as though the Germans have military access through it, and it will just be a significant problem if we don't, where enemy armies will just sort of hemorrhage through. However, with all of these reinforcement armies coming up, we will be able to just expand the front into some weird bulbous thing. And we did destroy those enemy armies, so now all of our forces can really start to move over this way. But, in fact, we should probably deal with this threat just sort of building up and being a problem. We've lost control over our islands, however they've lost control over the sea, so those armies get to just sit out the war. Alright, we may have far too many troops here in northern France. I thought the enemy would attempt more landings. So we'll just bring these men over and around, fitting the plan pretty well, actually. Alright, that managed to be taken care of. We can start just bringing our forces forward. We will create a small gap in the line for a moment, hopefully not so long that they take advantage. South Africa continues to absorb enemy armies with no appreciable gain for them. And we'll go ahead and just try to create something like a defense around these German armies. Continually we will bring forces around and forward, and alright, it looks as though we're in a pretty decent position. Hopefully they don't have military access through Switzerland yet, which it doesn't appear as though they do. Our armies are continuing to succeed. If we can just take the coastline, that would be a pretty good advantage for us. And we'll keep all these armies close together, so if there is ever an engagement in Africa, we will just win it handedly. And apparently there are also Egyptians attacking us, but I'm not too concerned about them. Alright, overall pretty good. We can move this army forward. And we're probably being very overly cautious with our armies at this point. The Germans are just sort of retreating and pulling their forces around to attack us there. Do we have reinforcements that can hold this gap in the line? Not yet, but they'll get there shortly. And we are just winning out loud, so that's very nice. Alright, at this point we are more or less through with the difficult part. The enemy armies appear to have been more or less defeated. We'll bring these armies up to defend our positions in France. And we'll just push forward in a large, full front movements. And that German army should fall apart in the near future. Now, it may be overly defensive, just keeping the entire frontier occupied. And that army is pulling back into our countryside, which is a bit annoying. Which army gets there quicker? 18th, 16th, 16th. Alright, we'll just pull this army up to defend Judenburg. And wheel this army around to just deal a blow against the Egyptians. We have a full army just doing nothing. We'll bring them over. And we'll see if we can't damage these small German armies, hopefully just destroying them outright. Although, let's not do that. They have a large amount of forces nearby. Alright. Oh, and the British have attacked. We'll just start pulling our forces over. Large German attack, moving more forces around. We'll just pull our force from Graz. They might try to escape into Graz, which would be a bit sad. However, even if they do, we can just follow them. We beat them last time, so apparently our armies are quicker than theirs. Let's not really worry about planned economy, guys. Come on, we need jingoism. What are we at right now with that? 5%. The exact opposite of progress. Which is just another way of saying it went down. With that, we are moving our forces forward deeper into, I guess, France again. And we did manage to stack wipe that German army, so that's nice. And we can probably just go ahead and bring these forces up. Not really encircling the German army here, but doing a decent bit of damage. They're falling back deeper into our countryside where we have another army reinforcing anyway, so good news for us. We can just keep this army where it is. We won that battle, we'll just go finish them off. We'll leave that group to just hold there. Now, people are offering us peace deals. We're not accepting right now. And in fact, we'll just start drawing our army forward without really worrying ourselves about being encircled from Bohemia, or Bavaria. And just press with a rather significant force forward. If we start sieging out North German territories, they may peace out of the war. Now, I'm not actually aiming to get anything from the North Germans, so that's probably the best way we can actually deal with them. A drive straight to Berlin might be a good option. We'll keep getting all of these quick psychology researches. And just fully drive this army and the whole front forward. We won that battle, they're retreating into more of their own men. We will press against them. Now we do have our Casus Belli complete against the Swiss. It may be a bit rude of us to just declare war on them right now, but we'll do that anyway. We'll try to destroy this German army, and then we'll pull our forces back and attack the Swiss. And in fact, we'll just pull these forces back as well. I imagine we'll be able to deal with the Swiss in a very short time frame. Good. Alright, we'll bring this army up, this army around. Let's take a look. Alright, so that's all going fairly well. Come on, jingoism, any day now. Alright, so with that all said and done, we are in a pretty nice spot. We've destroyed, or at least defeated, not destroyed, that German army. We'll leave one of our less well-off armies behind, move these forces up, and we beat them there. That is great. It looks as though there are rebellions in Austria. That is always a welcome sight. 50,000 of those Germans were defeated. Or, yeah, pretty much. We'll bring these armies around. And, alright, we're nearly there. Please, jingoism. So, I thought this was going to be more fighting the world, but it turns out our biggest enemy is democracy. I told you guys all in the beginning that democracy is a problem. And this lack of jingoism events is really the largest factor keeping us from victory. How rude of it. How terribly rude. We'll just wheel this army back around. We do more or less have an encirclement if we leave it, but I'd rather just help our army. We've destroyed that enemy group. Let's go circle around and destroy what's left. Looks as though we just have a weird buildup of forces right there for no reason. But the Germans appear to be about to attack, so we'll just bring them over and around. This army we'll bring back to just recomplete that encirclement. And just begin the drive into Germany proper. Or I guess technically into North German Confederate land proper, but that doesn't have quite the same ring to it. I guess I could technically call them the Confederacy, and it wouldn't be entirely wrong. So I'll probably start doing that. Or the Confederation. Whatever really works. Alright, where are they going? The one direction they are able to go. Not too surprising. We'll follow them, and then once that's done, we'll just let our armies go rest. I forgot we were building up our forces for an invasion of Switzerland. Let's go ahead and just declare that, taking the one state we can actually take from the Swiss. And we'll just spread our armies out through their land. Pretty straightforward. It looks as though there is a significant British force, which we will, let's see, interventionism, why not? Which we will decisively avoid. Alright, these armies get to go back to the countryside and rest a little bit. This army will wheel around, destroy that Confederate army, and then move north. Or I guess east. And we'll just keep pressing against the German. Alright, these armies, instead of anything else, will just go occupy Switzerland. Sorry they don't get to reinforce, but this is a bit more pressing. Hopefully they won't be in a combat situation. Good thing we left so many armies here in the northern French coast. 90,000 men should be more than enough to deal with that British force. Not sure why the British generally have stacks of around 50,000 men, but it's not that much of a problem. They're probably going to attack straight into this force. Do we have a defensive general? Yes, actually, cool. That's very handy. And we'll just bring all of our forces around, not worrying about those sieges. Land is far less important than armies in Africa. So that's all taken care of. The Swiss aren't doing very well, which is nice. We'll go ahead and just bring our reserves in to hopefully soften up the British even more. And they have retreated back across the channel. Not terribly surprising, that. Alright. Everything is moving forward quite swimmingly. And yeah, at this point we could probably even afford to speed the game up a little. Admittedly, no we couldn't. A lot of events just happened. So let's take a look. We won that battle, we'll just keep pressing forward. Who is this, Baden? Well, we'll leave them alone. Doesn't really matter that they're fighting us. Cleves. Alright, so Dalmatia, that poor unfortunate territory of our country, the only place that's really ever consistently under threat, will continue to be consistently threatened. The rest of our areas are going fairly well. Where's this British army retreating to? We will follow them. Not with this stack, though. Wow, they are very undermanned. But we'll send them over, and hopefully they'll stay more or less safe. If they get attacked, they're pretty much just going to get stack wiped. The rest of our forces continue to move forward through Austria. The poor Austrians have been trying to make peace for a while now, however, we've just been unable to do that. So, that's sad for them. They're going to lose a lot of industrial power. We may see a few new great powers just because of how long we're sitting with all of these states with their heads under the water. As brutal of a metaphor as that is. The Swiss appear to be leaving Switzerland altogether, and we are spreading through Bohemia. We might be able to win this war without a battle, which would be kind of a nice shift. If they go ahead and get out of their territory, we will fight them though, as I don't want to fight them in the mountains just for all the negative modifiers. And alright. Will the North Germans make peace? They will not. Well, then who cares? We're making great progress. There are a bunch of anarcho-liberals. Not too much of a concern. And we have won the battle in Africa, although we've taken tremendous casualties in the process. We'll just bring all those armies together, and we may actually have to pull them over to friendly territory. So we'll do that right now. We'll just bring them all up. The quicker we're able to unify them, the better, and we'll bring them up into the Sahara. Actually, no, that's dumb. We'll bring them over to the coast, where they'll actually be able to reinforce without all taking terrible attrition and dying. We'll focus very slightly on secularism as, well, it's not really anything we want our population to focus on. We'll go ahead and bring this army around to deal with the Swiss, hopefully successfully. And yeah, other than that, it's really getting to that same point it always gets to in these wars, where we're just occupying everything as quickly as we can, hoping for jingoism, and just more or less moving time forward. There is a rather lot to do at this point, although it's really just a lot of the same. Will we be able to beat this British army? Probably not. We'll see what happens. Election finished. More elections. And we'll probably just end this episode at the end of this election cycle. Hopefully we get jingoism and we're able to get our war goals added. But you're probably very sick and tired of me saying that. We've won that battle, taking rather significant losses in the process, so we'll just kind of heal these armies up a bit. This force will send to Geneva, and just keep moving forward. Keep on moving forward. Now, the Swiss are really the only country that we will actually accept the peace offer from right now, because they're the only place that we have everything we want from. A bunch of sieges and whatnot are finished. And we just carve forward once again. So yeah, it was probably a very good thing that we waited as long as we did before going to war with the world, as that period of build-up really most likely saved us. And the fact that we have a navy that's able to just defend the Mediterranean is a tremendous boon. The British almost certainly have dominance in the north area and definitely in the Channel. We're not going to try to fight them for the Channel. If we lose our entire navy. If we win, well, we still will probably lose a significant portion of our navy. And it's more important that we have a fleet in being, not a fleet in presence. I believe that's how that works. There's the concept of a fleet in being, which means because we have a fleet, they have to act as though we're a threat. And then there's a fleet in presence, which means if our fleet's actually at a place, then they have to react to it being there. Pretty sure that's how that works. Although I might be entirely wrong on that. It is, however, an interesting concept, and I do enjoy it. Meanwhile, I'm a bit surprised the Swiss aren't offering us peace yet, but I guess they do still exist, and it does take 100% war score to take half their country, so maybe it isn't too surprising. Other than that, pretty straightforward everywhere. And yeah, we're nearly done with the occupation of Austria. I would feel a bit bad if we just ended up sitting on all of these countries for some amount of time until they make peace with us. However, that's really something that I have done before and don't really feel too bad about doing. It's a bit of a bummer for all of these countries, and we'll probably lose a significant portion of our African holdings while it occurs. However, we've got a large amount of money just sitting in the bank, so it's not as though we're really at risk of anything terrible happening. These German pan-nationalists might be a bit of a problem. And we're only 23% of the way done with our war against the Swiss, which is weirdly little. Hopefully some battles will improve the war score in our favor. We may even just attack that 123 stack in the mountains. Obviously that's not a... that'll probably add a lot of casualties for us, and that's not exactly a great thing. However, it's not the end of the world. Casualties, as long as it doesn't bring the armies down below reinforceable amounts, won't really matter in the long run. We do probably have a large amount of armies that are below that reinforcement threshold. And apparently the Dutch have reinforced the Swiss. That's weird. I guess not so very weird, but it is a bit odd. Continually we press forward on all fronts. I forgot the Dutch were even fighting us. I guess they didn't even bother until recently. Well, our forces are done with Austria. We can just bring our forces back and around. We do actually have to deal with the Austrians a little bit more, just because of the British and all that nonsense in Dalmatia we've been ignoring. So we probably won't peace out with the Germans just yet, or the Confederates just yet, as we do want to keep a corridor open to attack the Netherlands. Now, there isn't really anything I want from the Dutch except, oh hey, Dutch North Africa, we can go after that right now. So we'll probably just siege their main countryside out and request their colonies in exchange for giving their country back. We'll go ahead and just bring all of our forces to bear against this stack in the mountains. That might be a little bit overkill, so we'll actually only bring 2 armies, and we'll just bring reinforcements as the, let's see, combat width allows. More occupations. We'll press towards Cairo, see if we can make a good deal out of that. And really, there's just so many places we can add war goals to that would be nice. It's just a matter of getting to a point where we can actually do that in a general sense, or really at all. Our armies seem to be doing shockingly well in this mountain battle. And we have so many forces freed up now that we've finished the occupation of Austria. So it seems as though the next episode is going to be a very large portion cleanup, and there is still a bit of Austria left to occupy. We're at war with the Greeks as well. Alright, so we're actually going to get quite a bit out of this war. Moralism, why not? That supports conservatives, we support conservatism, as it means we don't really have to worry about our industry, yet it won't collapse. And that's really all I care about so far as domestic politics is concerned. We'll probably at least at one point switch to something with state capitalism as we get all of the endgame factories, just so we can build those up, and then we'll switch back to interventionism so that they will take care of themselves and not be anything too problematic. I really would like to peace out with the Swiss before this episode ends, just because they're just a little weird tangent, and I don't want to carry that over to 2 episodes. Also because I'll stop playing and record the speed play, I might just jump back right on into this. Or not, depending. Alright, these forces all moving up and forward. There's just such small armies holding back. We'll press into the Netherlands and hopefully get them to regret their interventionism against us. These forces will actually bring up directly to the front and attack this Greek army because it's there to be attacked. And other than that, just hold out the front. We'll let them come to us. We will continue all of these forces moving forward. I'm surprised the North Germans aren't offering us peace at this point. And we are actually really running long now. Not that that's a really terrible thing, but it is something I want to try to avoid. The Dutch have attacked us in the mountains of Switzerland. Cool. I'm completely fine with that. These armies appear to be more or less back up to strength, so we'll go send them forward to continue just unsieging Africa. Alright. We did destroy that Greek army, and in fact, let's not even bother waiting. We'll just press forward against all of these enemies. We have such a superiority of numbers at this point, it's not even funny. It probably won't even be a challenge at this point, honestly. We could probably propose peace with the Swiss. Wait a minute, are they... Why are we not able to propose peace with them? War leader. Who is the war leader? What is this? Netherlands. Oh, okay, that's why the Dutch are fighting us. Right, that makes some sense. Alright, if we get a jingoism event, then we'll be able to add a war goal against the Dutch, and that will allow us to peace out with the Swiss. Instead of dealing with occupations right now, we'll just roll these armies forward to kill that one Austrian force. Bring these men up into the Confederate lands to our north. I kind of like how that sounds, Confederate. What a fun word. Just sounds so nice, Confederate. It's a nice number of syllables to describe a country by. And it's also so nondescript, but also kind of descript. Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm very sick. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We are moving our forces forward. We'll put this 12 stack back. The election is actually running very long. And all things considered, we're really just in a very, very real cleanup period. The Dutch are offering us peace. We'll just not deal with them yet. Alright, so that all said and done. The Mediterranean is our lake in a real sense, meaning that enemy forces aren't really able to project their force in it. We are occupying basically everything. What's the war? war plan look like? Kind of inaccurate for the situation at large, although, you know, kind of true. Our armies are doing very well. Africa, let's see, that kind of fell apart. Enemy armies kind of also fell apart as we fought them all off. South Africa, that turned out to be pretty accurate. These Egyptian forces, kind of an annoyance, but not really anything real. We could just bring this 30 stack really anywhere in the world. It's not like this North African campaign's going anywhere. But I guess it's not really like it's any more or less important than anywhere else. We can probably bring a drive against the Ottomans in the near future. And realistically, we're just waiting for jingoism. Once we do get the jingoism to actually add war goals, let's go ahead and delete this current plan. Alright, let's create a new plan. And this will be the last thing we do. Once again, defensive line right on here. That is the primary thing. We'll create a really loose set of defenses, just... Okay, I guess we're not actually making any lines right now. This whole area is probably going to be filled with random enemy armies as they get dropped off. So we'll just make weird little dashed lines. I imagine enemy forces will just keep rolling through there because the British do control that sea, so that'll always be a bit of an issue. We'll just generally make vague advances into Germany from both sides, so the twisted arrows of vague advances. We'll make a vague advance generally just through the Ottomans. This army will do really anything in the world, so we'll just make a question mark out of arrows for that. These forces will go really any direction. So I know these are kind of lazy and awful. I'm going to probably end this episode right here. Thanks very much for watching. That's vaguely the plan. Let's hope for some jingoism. Yeah. Alright. Hopefully I will not be so terribly sick by the next one. Have a great day. Also, I'm not sure how long it takes before the recording cuts out, so if there's a moment of silence, that's why. It doesn't end when I hit end, it ends like 5 seconds before.